Okay, let's then talk about crime. Crime in South Africa, crime in your communities, crime specifically regarding kidnapping, and crime or kidnapping that the ring emanates from Lenasia. We'll find about that with Faizel Patel, who's a senior digital journalist at The Citizen. Faisal, appreciate your time. I've introduced you in many different ways, but never as the senior digital journalist at The Citizen. That's a change, I know. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can hear you clearly because I sort of missed you in a second there. All right, Faisal, just respond so I can double check whether I can hear you. All right, we just back there. We can see Faisal visually. What we can't do is hear him. And honestly, we certainly want to know what he has to say. It just gets me to think in a moment about a couple of things that that needs to be talked about. One is the whole Pick and Pay Bacon Ramadan feature. I mean, you may have seen it. I posted it on my social media platforms where they had a sign that promoting bacon, which, as you know, is forbidden in the Islamic faith, but in the same sign promoting bacon, they've got their Ramadan, Ramadan Mubarak. I've certainly done it. I've certainly raised it. They've apologized. They've said it's just it's an error. I believe that it's an error, and I think it goes back to what I'd said. There has to be some an increased cultural intelligence at business level, so that it filters down and there's a cultural checklist in terms of what's acceptable and not. What is rather disturbing, in my opinion, is they made an error, they apologized. I mean, I think that's fine as far as I'm concerned. But many people of the Muslim faith taking this as like this is a deliberate attempt to undermine Muslims. It's a Zionist plot. I mean, I think that's extreme, honestly. Believe me, we all make errors every single day, and many of the errors we commit to are out of ignorance, sheer ignorance. We don't know better because nobody has taught us better, or we don't bother to find out better. And I'm not talking about Muslims. Try and understand the same with regard to other faiths and other cultures, like the Xhosa culture and the Zulu culture and the Pedi culture. You can go all the way back, and you'll find that honestly, do you know everything about those cultures? The fact is you don't know. So what's completely normal for you is not normal for them. But do you know that? You don't. That's a lesson to learn from that. So I just think, for me, the whole Pick and Pay story, the lesson to learn from a Pick and Pay, they've apologized, I'm cool with that personally, is they just need to establish a cultural input into their marketing intelligence so that they will be prevented from making this type of mistakes again. I mean, I had one of the Facebook friends of mine saying, but they made the same mistake with ham and the Jewish faith around Passover. So they're doing that. That means there's a breakdown in their systems. Whether that's now to translate it into something deliberate and saying this is what we do, yeah, that's another whole story. And I think you have to be very careful about not responding and becoming a victim with every single thing. Okay, talking about victims, we do have Faizel Patel back on the line. Faisal, once again, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to you, Ashraf, and to the viewers of Salam Media.
Thank you so much. Right, so let's talk about understand. I mean, you've been following the story of a kidnapping syndicate that is centered in Lenasia. There's been arrests. There's been further arrests. What's the story? What's happened?
Well, obviously, from what you've seen in the Citizen newspaper and also on the website, I mean, this is a massive, massive story, especially for a small suburb like Lenasia. While obviously it is attributed to me, there's a lot of other journalists also involved that's following the story as well. So basically, it started with a number or a spate of kidnappings in Lenasia and the south of Joburg. When I say the south of Joburg, it includes other areas in and around Lenasia as well. And it started off with Lukman Kazi and some other businessmen as well. We even heard the kidnapping of Fred's Hardware, brother Asmal from the Vereeniging area as well. And then police were acting off on a tip-off, and there was an operation that took place, and they managed to arrest a number of people at that time. Initially, first Faizal Charloos, They call him the kidnapping mastermind, was arrested, and then thereafter other people who had alleged links to him have been arrested. And then since then, there have been a series of arrests of people allegedly linked to Charloos. We had a former a CPF member. Charges has been subsequently dropped against him, but his son-in-law and daughter remains, in custody, or have been remanded in custody. And then yesterday there was another operation. But before I get to that one, Thursday and Friday, Wednesday and Thursday last week, there was another operation where 7 other people were arrested, also with alleged links to Charloos as well. And then last night, just before Iftar or on Iftar, there was another operation in Lens. And according to a source who spoke to the Citizen, Charloos's brother was arrested as well. And there was another person who they were supposed to arrest, but then there was a high-speed chase that ensued through the streets of Lenasia, and he managed to actually evade the police. So that's where it stands at the moment.
Okay, so so 2 things here. There are different types of kidnappings, right? This type of kidnapping, by and large, and correct me if I'm wrong, follows the trend of targeting business people, right? Business people with a high degree of net wealth, right? So they can be kidnapped, and the ransom demanded is not like a 500,000 rands or something. We're talking about much bigger numbers, 20, 30 million rands. And this has been going on for a good few years. And the one common factor in all of this, to a large degree, the victims are predominantly Muslim and predominantly Asian Muslims, or Indian Muslims predominantly. There are some exceptions, but therefore there are people that you could easily identify in your communities, Faisal. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's these are some of the people that I don't know very well, but I'm familiar with. And when I initially did the first story, I was actually shocked that it could actually be done. But Ashraf, I must add, if you know the nationality of Faizal Charloos, he's actually a Mozambican national who's living in South Africa. He was arrested in Lenasia South, in the suburb where actually I live. But this trend of kidnapping for ransom, that's what they call it. And the police is calling it kidnapping for ransom. Basically, they want money in return for the victim to be reunited with his family. Actually started in Mozambique a few years ago when I was working for another radio station, where they used to kidnap very high-profile business people. And if they can't get to them, they used to kidnap their children, or they used to kidnap their sons, and then demand huge ransom, money. And I covered that particular story a few years ago, or one particular aspect of the story, where a businessman's son was kidnapped, but they kidnapped the wrong person. That means they kidnapped the cousin, especially instead of the businessman's son. And unfortunately, that person then got killed. The kidnappers actually killed that person, and then the whole thing that blew over. There was a lot of allegations that the Mozambican armed wing was involved, and they had access to government officials. But it seems, in my opinion, that some of those syndicates, or some of the people that were sort of profile players in that kidnapping, spate of kidnappings there, has now filtered to South Africa. But this particular thing is quite huge. We've seen that little girl that was kidnapped as well. It's all interlinked somewhere along the other. And it is actually quite scary at the moment.
And but judging from the, you mentioned about the sting operations, again, so it's certainly not, it's not one person who's been arrested. There's a series, so that's to suggest it's the business of kidnapping for ransom, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you take the total number of people that have been arrested already, there's already 5 sitting in custody, right? They're going to be appearing in court on Tuesday and Wednesday. 7 was arrested on Thursday and Friday, Wednesday and Thursday. So that takes 7 plus 5, which is 12, and another one person arrested yesterday, 13. And according to sources close to the Citizen, there are more arrests expected. So and it seems that the rot is going very, very deep into the community. From the articles which is available in the Citizen, you'll see there's even some links alleged to be with the CPF, but they've now assisted police with yesterday's arrest apparently, and they now also want to clear their name because they don't want the stigma to be attached to their name. Because one of the things that Lenasia is plagued with is a high crime rate, and the CPF plays an important role to ensure that the community is kept safe. So I think they also, I think they tie it now at the moment, and you want to ensure that this kidnapping syndicate is actually brought down.
Okay, what about so let's get this right. There are 5 people in custody appearing in court, including the ringleaders supposedly, but at the moment they are alleged criminals. Okay, so they're not convicted. And let's hope that's the case, that they are convicted, if that is the case with them. Right? I'm just being careful about the words I use. But the more important one is, from a police point of view, I mean, how much do you know about what went into the information and the intelligence that put the police in a situation where they actually then can effect these arrests? Because I mean, that alone I think is quite remarkable, that they were able to do that in the first place in a country, in a community where often we accuse the police of not doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously the details or more intricate details of the operations will be kept under lock and key or under secrecy. But what happens is, if police arrest, like they arrested the 5, and then they'll get a tip off, or maybe somebody turns state witness and they'll give police more information. And that's how the CPF member whose charges have been dropped, and his daughter and his son-in-law were arrested, because somebody gave them information. Then they pounced on the son-in-law, and then after they pounced on the son-in-law, they went to the house of the CPF member where his daughter was staying, and that's where they found, I think, almost 400,000 rand and some ammunition and that sort of stuff. And then more information tends to come out, and then they acted on another tip-off yesterday, where again they found some amount of cash and also ammunition as well. You remember when in the initial arrest, when Faizal Charloos was arrested, when they pounced on the house, they found 6 million rand in cash, which was in ransom money. They found vehicles, they found guns, ammunition. So police obviously act on this information, and when they do act on information, it seems that obviously they find it very lucrative, in a sense that there may be people allegedly involved. Same with yesterday as well. They acted on a tip-off, and they enacted the arrest, and they came to the suburb of Lenasia, and then obviously this person was now allegedly linked. So I also understand from sources that one of the people that they arrested is now apparently turned state witness. So he's giving a lot more details of a lot more people that may be implicated in this whole kidnapping syndicate, if you want to call it that. And there's definitely going to be more arrests that's going to be enacted by the police. But the police are not very forthcoming sometimes with information, because it will jeopardize their investigation, and obviously
understandable. Yeah. How just well, let's hope. I mean, they do their jobs, and if these are guilty, they get the convictions they need, and then we can be rid of this vicious crime of kidnapping for ransom. Just the last thing. How much do you know about Faizal Charloos, besides the fact that he's originally from Mozambique? I mean, do you have any other information you can share with us?
Absolutely. I mean, it's in the Citizen article as well. If you go, and if the viewers want to read more details, I'm just going to give you basically a tidbit. Just search for Charloos on the Citizen website and you get the details. There have been a lot of petitions signed by the residents of Lenasia, community members, that specifically of his intimidation and extortion tactics. There's also alleged reports, and I want to be very careful here, because he's only been incarcerated. They haven't faced trial as yet, of his alleged links, or with corrupt police officials and corrupt court officials, where I think there was a petition just when he was arrested. It was floating around on various social media accounts, denied bail, or bail should be denied for Faizal Charloos and his accomplices, for fear that if he's released on bail, then he will intimidate witnesses. Number one, he will also intimidate court officials and magistrates. He's allegedly reported to have done this in the future. People have said that when he's out in the future, case dockets allegedly disappear. Magistrates tend to drop the cases. and they don't want to get involved in the whole matter. But obviously, that is the different case now, because they gave up their right to apply for bail, while the bail for his wife and for the CPF's daughter and son-in-law were actually denied when they appeared in the Johannesburg court.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, that story will run. Feel free to share the Citizen articles that you put together, Faizal, and just link it. Well, tag me and tag Salam Media as well. But certainly, I will certainly share that as well. Thank you so much for your time. Most appreciated.
Thanks, Ashraf. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, there we are. Assalamu alaikum, Faizel Patel, talking about Faizal Charloos. So you've got the two big distinction there. We're going to talk about other issues, including the latest developments in the around the Al-Aqsa compound, and then right wingers and how they have been the cause of some serious disruption and destruction in Sweden, and we'll talk about that in a moment.